Hello everyone and welcome to another ProGuides Wild Rift video. My name is Irene and today we're going to be doing a complete beginner's guide to Wild Rift. It occurred to us that some of you may have never even played League of Legends, which is the game that Wild Rift is a mobile version of. And we feel even if you have, it's important to take a step back and cover the basics. This will be covering all of the basics to get you ready for playing the game, and nothing to do with the out-of-match menus. Those things would need a whole different guide all on their own. Thankfully, the play button is pretty damn big, so hopefully you can find it without getting lost in all the other screens. Now, without further ado, let's get right into it. Wild Rift is a team-based strategy game, where two teams of 5 players compete to accomplish their goal. The goal is simple: destroy the enemy nexus and claim victory, before they destroy yours. But the ways in which you accomplish this goal is what playing on the Wild Rift is all about. Killing your enemies, powering up, making epic plays, and leading your team to victory. Each team begins at their base, with their nexus at the center of each of these bases. This is what you want to destroy on the enemy's side first to win the game. Your nexus is also where minions spawn. Minions are small little units that march down the 3 lanes, automatically attacking anything that belongs to your enemies: their champions, their structures, or their minions. There are 3 types of minions: melee, caster, and siege. Melee minions have a little more HP and hold the front line. Caster minions deal a bit more damage and are able to attack from range. Siege minions show up every now and then to help your team push towards enemy structures. Behind your nexus is the fountain. The fountain is where you'll find yourself at the start of the game, as well as where you'll be after you die and respawn or recall back to base. This is the safest place on the map for your champion. There's a deadly laser to prevent anyone bad ever coming close, and it's also where you can quickly recover all of your health and mana. The fountain is also where the shop is located. The shop is where you can buy, sell, and power up items with gold that you've earned. In order to reach the enemy nexus and win the game, your team needs to carve a path into the enemy base. There are 3 lanes: the Baron lane, the mid lane, and the Dragon lane. And you can't go marching straight down these lanes to the enemy nexus. Around your base and all over the map, you'll notice that there's another kind of structure aside from your nexus, called turrets. Turrets will attack targets that get too close and deal damage to enemy minions and champions. Each lane has 3 turrets protecting different parts of the lane: the outer section, the inner section, and the base. While playing the game, you'll slowly chip away at turrets by attacking them with your minions to avoid the turret attacking you. Once you destroy the turret, it will never come back, and you've taken away some of your enemy's safe territory on the map. You'll want to keep pushing and killing turrets throughout the game as one of the sub-goals to getting to the enemy nexus. Once you kill a turret inside of the enemy's base, your team will start to produce super minions in that lane to help push for the final victory. In between the lanes, where the minions don't go, lies the jungle, where you'll find the neutral monsters. The 3 monsters that everyone needs to know about are Rift Herald, Baron Nashor, and the Drakes. Teams will group up throughout the game to try and defeat these epic monsters, and the team that lands the final blow is rewarded with a unique buff depending on the epic monster slain. Baron Nashor is the strongest neutral monster in the game. Killing Baron will give your team a temporary buff that increases their attack damage, ability power, and strengthens your minions when they're near you, as well as reduces the time it takes to recall. Baron doesn't show up on the map until 10 minutes into the game, and is in the river near the Baron lane. Until that point, after the 6-minute mark, his pit is occupied by the Rift Herald. When the Rift Herald is defeated, the team that killed it can summon the Rift Herald as an ally for a short duration. Once summoned, the Rift Herald will run down the nearest lane towards the enemy's base and ram its head into the enemy turrets, dealing a massive amount of damage to the turret and itself. The Drakes are monsters that will begin to spawn 4 minutes into the game near the Dragon lane, and will spawn multiple times throughout the game. Depending on the element of the Drake your team kills, you are granted a different unique bonus. There are 4 types of elemental drakes, and they will all spawn in the game until an elder version of one of the elemental drakes ends up spawning. After slaying the elder version of a dragon, you gain an empowered version of that element associated with it, and you permanently get a buff that will deal extra damage to your enemies. Also, no more dragons will spawn for the rest of the game beyond that point. Wild Rift is designed to have 5 players on each team, each filling a unique role. There are 2 solo lane roles: the mid lane and the Baron lane. The duo lane role, which consists of a carry and a support in the Dragon lane, and the jungle. Each lane's position and whether you are solo or duo in the lane typically impacts the type of champions that you will see in each of these lanes. Champions that go to the Baron lane are typically durable fighters, or tanks whose job it is to either bash their opponents to bits or guard their allies by keeping their team safe from the enemy's strongest players. The mid lane is home of the champions who like to deal a lot of damage quickly, and houses some of the most mobile champions on the Rift, which lends itself to being a role for players who like to get fancy and outplay their opponents. The Dragon lane is the lane for duos. The champion that will be providing most of the damage in this lane is called the Attack Damage Carry, or ADC. These are champions that are glass cannons. While fragile, they can absolutely demolish entire teams given enough time. That is why they need protection early on, and throughout the game, in the form of a second person in their lane, called a support. Support champions are protectors of the team through shielding, healing, engaging, and defending. These champions help empower others and set them up for success. And the role that isn't in a lane, the jungle, has a unique set of champions that tend to go there. Somewhere between a Baron laner and a mid laner where you want mobility, but also want to be durable and pack a punch. These champions lurk in the darkness, getting stronger and stronger by killing monsters and hunting enemy champions. They monitor and control the map, watching the movements of their enemies to look for opportunities to get an advantage. At the start of each match, you'll select a champion to pilot from a list of over 40 champions. Your allies will also select their own champions during this time, and so will your enemies. Throughout the game, your champion will become stronger. The two ways in which you strengthen and power up your champion is through earning gold and experience. Gold is spent at the item shop in the fountain on items which can give your champion stats, or add unique effects to them. Experience increases your champion's level, their stats slightly, and grants you an additional skill point every time you level up. Each champion has 5 unique abilities in their kit, 1 passive, 3 basic abilities, and an ultimate. Passives are always on, needing no interaction or button presses to make use of, but it's important to know that they help make the champion work in their own way. As for the 3 basic abilities and the ultimate, you'll be actively pressing, aiming, and strengthening these to help you win the game. And this is where you'll be putting those skill points you gain from leveling up. You start the game at level 1 with 1 skill point available to distribute. You can select any of the 3 basic abilities to level up and gain access to. The first point you put into each ability will allow you to use it. Each time you level up, you can then allocate an additional skill point to your abilities to either learn another one or strengthen one you already put points into. Keep in mind that you can only put 4 points into each ability, and the game also limits the levels in which you can put a point into an ability. For example, you can't put 2 points into your first ability at level 2. Instead, you're forced to take another ability. But at level 3, you can put a point into one of the abilities that you've already learned to make it stronger. Or you can learn your third ability and have access to all 3 of your basic abilities. As for your ultimate, this is usually the ability that gives you the most impact in the game, and isn't available to be unlocked until you've reached level 5, and you can only put 3 points into it as opposed to 4. Ultimates are powerful, and typically define your champion's high moments in the game, and because of that, they have much longer cooldowns than your basic abilities, usually somewhere in the 1 to 2 minute range, as opposed to just a few seconds. The maximum level for champions in Wild Rift is level 15. Once you reach that level, experience no longer provides your champion any benefit. No progression towards a level up, no bonus stats, nothing. Which means the only remaining way to power up and get stronger is through earning gold. Gold is used to buy items from the item shop at your base, which you'll purchase at the start of the game and every time you use your recall ability to return to base. Items have stats on them that make your attacks, abilities, or defenses stronger. As the game goes on and you purchase more items, you'll work towards completed items by combining smaller items in the shop. You initially purchase items for the stats they offer, but stronger and stronger items have more than just stats. Things like being able to slow your enemies, attack them from further away, or even gaining the ability to become invulnerable for a few seconds are just some of the few ways that items affect your champion. And it doesn't matter whether you're covering a weakness or doubling down on a strength. The items you purchase, the time you purchase the item in the game, and the order you purchase them in will make your champion feel completely different from game to game. Items are strong, and as such, you'll spend most of, if not all of the game, trying to get more and more gold to work towards stronger and stronger items. After you spend that initial starting gold, there are many ways in which you can gain gold. You gain gold passively as the game goes on, but you gain the large majority of your gold by killing minions, killing monsters, destroying enemy structures, and the one way that players usually find the most fun is killing enemy players. So to put it all together, in Wild Rift, you're going to start off by selecting a champion that suits you, buy a starting item, and level up an ability. From there, you'll head into a lane or the jungle to start farming and earn gold and experience to get stronger. You'll then use this strength to kill epic monsters to power up even further, slaughter your enemies to get them off the map as they have to respawn, and demolish their structures to advance your team's influence. Your teams will fight back and forth in small fights or large battles to defend precious structures or prevent epic monsters from falling into the wrong hands. All this happens back and forth until someone pushes into the base and kills the enemy nexus. Then you queue up and do it all over again, with different champions, teammates, enemies, and different events that unfold. No two games are ever the same, and that's what keeps players coming back. Even if you play the same champion over and over again in the exact same manner, having different teammates and different enemies always mixes things up. So even if the map stays the same every single game, the Rift will always be wild.